Good Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Alicia Lewis. Just in this morning, Governor Tim Walz taking executive action to protect the boundary waters from copper and nickel mineral mining. He signed an executive order today directing the DNR and Pollution Control Agency to stop permitting all environmental review work on mineral mining projects in the Rainy River watershed. It also orders the DNR to stop issuing new leases and permits for mineral mining in the watershed and review the ones that are currently in place. It also asks the DNR to draft legislation to permanently ban copper and nickel mining in the BWCA. This move comes after Congress voted to end a ban on mining in the Superior National Forest earlier this year. Well, happening today, we're expecting more charges in an alleged multi-year sex trafficking ring brought down by Hennepin County investigators. 4 people are charged with more than a dozen counts, including a former assistant Anoka County attorney. Audrey Russo is outside the Hennepin County Courthouse, where one of the 4 defendants is due in court later this afternoon.
This plot allegedly involved recruiting sex trafficking victims, posting them online as advertisements to potential buyers. And it's a scheme that investigators say also includes Medicaid fraud. These are the 4 suspects, 3 women, all allegedly dating the same man, Frank Reeves, who court documents describe as the top defendant. He owned Riva Health and Riva Autism, healthcare companies that allegedly billed the state millions for Medicaid reimbursements. Investigators say the identities of the sex trafficking victims were used on paperwork as phony employees at these companies. The complaint lists 13 victims in all. Some of the sexual transactions, investigators say, took place at various housing stabilization and assisted living centers owned by Reeves and Andrea Sampson, the former assistant Anoka County attorney.
As you've seen here, this was a complicated scheme. This was a scheme that was designed not only to exploit the victims in these cases, take advantage of them, but also structured to hide the money and the proceeds. That was done with multiple individuals, including building out shell companies, as is alleged in the complaint.
Again, more charges are forthcoming. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty says this is an ongoing investigation. And while 13 victims are outlined in the complaint, Moriarty believes there may be more, and she's encouraging anybody who thinks they were a victim to reach out to her office. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you. This morning, officials are revealing new details about the moments leading up to actress Hayden Panettiere's death. Emergency responders say they found her in cardiac arrest inside her South Carolina apartment. Here's video from outside of her building. You can see fans leaving flowers, building a small memorial there. Police say emergency crews performed CPR and other life-saving measures, but were unsuccessful. Officials say they're waiting to release Panettiere's official cause of death until their investigation is done. New video this morning showing the Hopkins community coming together to grieve the loss of 3 people killed in a murder-suicide in Hopkins and in Burnsville last week. Kristen, Evie, and Alice Brown. A memorial is also growing outside the in-home daycare where police say Nathan Brown killed his wife and daughter before taking his own life. They also say he killed his mom at her home in Burnsville earlier in the day. Now, several families are having very tough conversations with their own kids about what happened.
Sitting her in my lap and saying those words out loud and watching and hearing and feeling my little girl just collapse into me and sob was the worst moment of my life.
Families enrolled at Brown Bear Daycare released a statement remembering Evie as the heart of the daycare and Kristen as a warm, nurturing caregiver. And right now, if you or someone you know is in a dangerous situation, there are free resources available. You can call Minnesota's crisis hotline at 1-866-223-1111. And trained professionals are available 24/7. Tonight, the city of Ely says it will come together to remember Leslie Washington, the Alaska firefighter killed while battling the wildfires in northern Minnesota. The 41-year-old was assigned to the Bear Trap Fire just 20 miles north of Ely. Washington's cousin tells us Leslie most likely died from a heart attack. Organizers for tonight's tribute say they want to honor his life, his service, and the sacrifice he made protecting communities in need. Well, hundreds of extra law enforcement will be on the roads looking for drunk drivers starting tomorrow. The extra patrols will run through Labor Day. We had the rare opportunity to hear from a driver who was caught drinking and driving and how his life was changed forever. Alongside State Patrol Corey bravely shared how just a few years ago he was arrested for drinking and driving while he was on his way home from a party. Luckily, no one was hurt that night, but Corey says he lost thousands of dollars in legal fees. He lost his job, and he often thinks about the many lives he put in danger with his reckless decision.
People often say that I got a second chance. And the truth is, I got dozens. Every birthday, every anniversary, every hug from my kids, every quiet evening with my wife, I don't take that for granted.
Corey says he wanted to share his story because he remembers watching news stories and commercials about drinking and driving, and that he always told himself that would never be him until it was. Right now, floodwaters are finally starting to go down in Indiana after a week of relentless rain and storms left neighborhoods underwater, ripping apart roads and bridges there. Now people are getting their first look at the damage as cleanup begins. Maggie Vespa joins us from Indianapolis.
Hey there from Indianapolis, where the water finally is receding. You can see this street mostly dry, but over here a lot of neighborhoods look like this. And we're seeing a lot of that, by the way. People in trucks driving through floodwaters. They've had it. They want to get to their homes, see the damage that's there. The theme of today, cleanup. These tree removal trucks showed up here in the last couple of hours. We've also heard of home restoration teams going door to door, just letting people know that they're available if they want to start the cleanup process now. It was a historic, deadly run of storms over the last week or so here in the Midwest. Indiana really hit the hardest. The state's governor saying 7 people were killed in these storms from ages 86 down to the age of 4. Roads were destroyed, bridges were wiped out. Hundreds of people were evacuated from their homes over the course of the weekend. It's really been stunning to see the amount of damage and see the amount of rainfall in this state that just for days would not stop. Back here now, again, everybody trying to start the cleanup process as quickly as possible. President Trump over the weekend green-lighting FEMA aid. And we're hearing from a lot of people who themselves went through this and don't have flood insurance, or among those who do, they say they're finding out some hard truths about how many of their possessions, they tell us, are not covered under their plans. So that government aid is definitely needed. Back to you.
Developing this morning, the state trial set for 2 weeks from now against Luigi Mangione is on hold. A New York judge is giving prosecutors until October 9th to contest the defense's claims that their client will be unlawfully prosecuted under double jeopardy grounds should the trial proceed. On Friday, Mangione pleaded guilty to 2 federal counts of stalking and admitted to shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Right now, the war with Iran is nearing the 6-month mark, and a 60-day deadline to end the fighting went with no ceasefire. NBC's Bianca Fucini is in Washington with the details.
Hey, good morning. The U.S. and Iran remain in a stalemate with no deal yet, and it's unclear how much longer this could all drag on for. As we wait for progress, we're now seeing how the conflict is impacting relationships with some of our allies. 60 days later, and still no peace agreement between the U.S. and Iran.
They want to make a deal, but they're not going to make the kind of a deal that I feel is necessary. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Sign the MOU? It's signed, yeah.
Both countries signed a memorandum back in June and seem even further apart now. Meanwhile, traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has slowed to a crawl, keeping gas prices high and the GOP on edge ahead of the midterms.
Everybody in the world has an interest in the Strait of Hormuz being open for commerce, and so I believe we'll be getting into a new phase of that where we can calm this down, that will hold gas prices down to planet Earth.
Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and special envoy, says a deal is still on the table.
He'll make the right deal when the right deal is ready.
Though the deadline for an agreement comes as the U.S. faces rising tension with key allies. The president said he would bomb Oman if it gets in the way of a deal with Iran, according to an interview with Fox News. He also recently announced the U.S. would scale back joint military exercises with South Korea.
They said, wait a minute, we have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong-un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange.
And elsewhere in the Middle East, progress is stalling on the Gaza peace deal, too. Kushner met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday to discuss the U.S.-backed peace plan, which has yet to be ratified. On top of gas prices troubling consumers, new polling from Reuters and Ipsos shows that a majority of Americans are concerned the war with Iran will last for a long time. That same survey shows the president's approval rating is the lowest it's ever been at 33%. In Washington, Bianca Fucini, NBC News.
In just a few weeks, crews will begin construction on one of Minnesota's longest bridges, the Blatnik Bridge. It's one of two bridges connecting Duluth to Superior, Wisconsin. The federal government contributed $1 billion in funding to help fix up the 60-year-old structure. The updates include overlooks for bikers and walkers and weathering steel that can last up to 100 years. After considering 30 design options, officials opted not to build the new one parallel to the old.
It lets the crews have the whole thing at one time. It saves a year of overall construction, and it's about $80 to $100 million less expensive.
The bridge will fully close in March and last through at least 2031. The detour route will be across the Bong Bridge, which is just to the west. Be sure to stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.